I thought I would just take a few minutes to show you all around our new homestead. It's not a homestead yet. I think everybody is kind of influenced a lot by the homestead movement on Instagram and on, TikTok and YouTube and all these beautiful aesthetic little homesteads. And I just wanted to show you guys that's not really how it works. For normal people who aren't wealthy, it's important to know that you have to be pretty scrappy and resourceful. And while we are very, very fortunate and more privileged than most, we do have to be really, really careful with our spending. And we got a fantastic deal on this place. We live very rural. That's one, that's part of it. And two, the place was a dump when we bought it. And we basically were like, we'll clean it up. Just give us a better deal. Aside from that, three, the place was listed really low for what was on it. And my husband could see the potential and he could see that we could transform this place. It would take a lot of grit, a lot of hard work, and a lot of time, but we could do it. So in many ways, we got really lucky. And we looked for a home for 2 years. And we basically came to the conclusion we weren't going to be able to afford to live in Montana and own any land. We were looking at houses because we were like, the dream of owning land just didn't seem like it was going to really pan out for us. I had completely lost hope, but he never did. He kept looking, and everything was just way too expensive, way too out of our price range. And so this place literally landed in our laps. It has been such a blessing. We are surrounded by like ranch land, so we really don't have neighbors. What we've got to work with is just under 20 acres. We've got a modular, a detached garage that I've got behind me, and we've got a lean-to shed type thing. As far as the homesteading part and as far as the infrastructure with that, there is a general perimeter fence around about a half of the property. So any animals that I want to bring in, we're going to have to provide all of the infrastructure for that. And so that's where a lot of the money kind of comes in up front. Is I can't really get goats or I can't really get a couple of cows until I have shelter for them, appropriate fencing for them. I am planning to do a more of a holistic approach with my property and with my management style. I want to do rotational grazing, intensive grazing practices. So fencing is going to be like number one there. And then being able to water everything is another challenge. And there's just going to be a lot of input before we even get started. This isn't really my first rodeo in the sense that I come from a long line of farmers, and on my dad's side, farmers, on my mom's side, moonshiners. So I come from a long line of country people. And when I say it's in my blood to have land and work that land, it really is. I see things so much differently than I think the average person does. I see things in terms of like ecological balances and input and extraction. And we have been here 10 months. We bought the place right before I gave birth to my son, and then we moved right after my 2 to 3 week sort of postpartum recovery. It has been a lot, and my husband has done everything. He took care of everything. He removed flooring. He repainted the place. He did all the junk removal basically himself while I recovered from having a baby. And it's been a lot of work, but it's been worth it. We feel very fortunate to own something. And we're really excited about what the future holds for it. So just to give you kind of a realistic timeline here, we have been here for 10 months. We moved here in September, and it is currently mid-July. So me being a new mom, there's only so much I could really take on. And I think I actually took on a decent amount considering if I wasn't a mother, obviously could probably take on a lot more. The first thing that I really wanted to do was establish some perennials, and I didn't get to do as many as I would have liked. I would have loved to have planted some trees. Out here though, we're in a little bit of a unforgiving sort of ecosystem. Any trees that I would have planted, I would have wanted to plant fruit trees, and that would have taken a lot more resources, like a lot more mulch and just a lot more labor around establishing the trees, getting them wind protected. I just didn't really feel like I was capable of getting all that started. So I think we're going to save the trees for next year. But I did start my raspberry patch. I did get a couple of blueberries started, and I don't have the soil for blueberries, so they're in really big pots. But getting a few edible things going. I was late to the game getting my garden started, but I did get a small temporary garden started. We don't have like an official garden area yet. We're gonna have to do some work. We're gonna have to move some dirt around in order to like level out the yard on both sides in order to be able to grow food there. It's just we're dealing with some challenging topography, so we need more flat spots and everything's just very hilly. So we're gonna have to figure that out. Here I've got my 2 raspberry plants. They've been in the ground for about 3 weeks. Notice I've got quite a bit of new growth here. Looks like we've got some buds coming up. I might even get a little bit of a raspberry harvest. Right now it's mid-July. Lots of new growth on this one. And so I've mulched all around them away from the stems. We're in kind of a arid climate, so I wanted to make sure I got them established. Wanted to keep the chickens away from the mulch, so I have this little fencing here. So that's the raspberries so far. Got ourselves a little farm boy. No farm or homestead is complete without a good dog. Huh, Spud? Come here. Yeah. This is my first year doing American Bresse. They are a heritage meat bird. Dual purpose though. What's nice about having a meat bird like this is basically the ability to breed them yourself. A lot of meat birds you have to order and have them shipped in. They're kind of made in a lab, so they don't really live past a certain amount of time. Obviously you can see we make a lot of things ourselves, and we do not have the aesthetic homestead that a lot of people online have, and that's how we like it. We rely on blue collar ingenuity, and we save money. Basically what we have here is a rotational fencing system. So they'll be here for a week, and then I'll move them to maybe this patch over here, and I kind of rotate them around the property so that they're not degrading any one area. And there's some fertilizing going on, and it's just my way of taking better care of the soil. The soil we have here is not appropriate for blueberries, so I did get some blueberries though and planted them in these pots. This is the chicken coop my husband built 3 years ago. It's definitely due for some updates, but we love this thing. I've got sand in the bottom. I just take a kitty litter scooper and I scoop all the poop out. I've got 2 nesting boxes on this side and 2 kind of back there on the other. Lids that lift. It's nice and sturdy so raccoons can't just lift this. We've got a run chicken door that works on a timer, and we've got a solar spotlight that will turn on at night if anyone tries to mess with our coop. We do have a lot of predators out here. Hi, pretty girls. And here's my temporary garden that I've got set up. We don't have a permanent one yet, but I just kind of wanted to throw some stuff in the ground, see what would work. I've got some pumpkins, some sweet peas, acorn squash. I've got some watermelon, chives, carrots that aren't really doing that well, some cucumbers that aren't doing that well. I've got some rescued tomato plants that may or may not live. It's a mess. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy my little tour, and I'll keep you updated.